Hello students, let's take the next topic of ecology, that is water. Next to temperature, water is the most important abiotic factor that greatly influences the life of an organism. In fact, life on the earth it is started in water itself, and no organism can be able to sustain their life without water. And studying about water it is called as limnology. Let's take the role of water. Water is the only inorganic liquid present on the earth which functions as resource, condition, and also habitat. Resource means water is the chief renewable source that is present on this earth planet. Water can be reusable. Water which is present on the earth, due to the sun heat, it gets evaporated and reaches the sky in form of clouds, and whenever these clouds get cooled down, again they come down in form of rain. That means water cycle it is going on our earth. So water is a main resource present on the earth. And water, if you take, we are using it for many purposes like cleaning, washing, cooking. Without water we can't be able to imagine any of our daily activities. And it also responsible for condition. Whatever the season you are experiencing, my friends, all these seasons you can be able to experience only due to the presence of water. Because when the water it is getting evaporated, all these vapors they reaches to the sky. Some water vapor which is passive, which cannot be able to reach to the sky, and this will be present on the earth surface itself. And that inactive or passive water vapor which is present on this earth surface, it is called as a humidity. That is only responsible for the seasonal variations are happening due to the passive water vapor that is present on the earth surface. And that is the reason why you are experiencing all the seasons. Let us take, if it is summer, the passive water vapor which is present on this earth surface, it catches more heat, so that you are feeling more heat. Whereas if it is summer, the water vapor which is present in this earth surface, that means humidity, it becomes more cold and you are also feeling cold. So it is very very important to maintain the condition of the earth, that means seasons of the earth. And this point I need not to tell you, water is a very very important habitat. All the aquatic organisms they are living, and aquatic plants and also animals they are living in this water. It may be fresh water, or it may be marine water, or it may be estuarine water. Estuarine water means where the fresh water and also marine water meet. That particular junction where the fresh water and also marine water meet, and that particular junction it is called as estuarine habitat. And the next one, water also regulate the climate. I already told you in the condition, water it regulates the climate in form of humidity, and it also affect the vegetation, and it also decides the composition of vegetation. If more rainfall, the more greenery you can be able to see. If the less rainfall and less vegetation you can be able to see. So water also decides the vegetation of the earth planet. For aquatic organisms, the quality of the water it is very very important. Quality of the water it includes chemical composition and also pH. Whereas the salt concentration that is present in the water, it is measured in form of parts per thousand. It is less than 5% in inland waters. That means if you take any fresh water, it may be river water, it may be water from lakes, or it may be from reservoirs, there you can be able to salinity, that means salt concentration, less than 5%. That's why we can be able to drink that particular water. Now if you take marine water, that means water of sea, the salinity concentration is more than 30 or 35 percentage. Now if you take hyper saline lagoons in that more than 100%, that means hypertonic salt solution can be able to see in hypersaline lagoons. See, hypersaline lagoons means here clearly I mentioned water body even more saltier than the sea water, that is called as hypersaline lagoons. Now, according to the salinity tolerance, organisms are divided into two types. The first one is euryhaline organisms, and the next one it is called as stenohaline organisms. Students, before I explain this only, don't get confused with eurythermal and stenothermal organisms. That is a response of an organism towards the temperature, whereas here euryhaline, whereas stenohaline, this is the response of an organism towards the salinity of water. Students, don't get confused between these two terms. Now let us take euryhaline organisms. Organisms which can tolerate wide range fluctuations of salt concentration in the water. That organisms can be called as euryhaline organisms. Whereas organisms which cannot sustain the wide range fluctuations, that means they are restricted to narrow range fluctuations of salt concentration, that are those organisms are called stenohaline organisms. And these organisms can survive either in fresh water, salt water, I mean marine water, or it may be in brackish water. Whereas this stenohaline organisms, as I clearly mentioned, they are restricted to narrow range of salinities. That's why they may be either fresh water or they may be marine water. If their habitat is changed, they can't be able to survive because they don't have capacity to tolerate the salinity. Whereas euryhaline organisms are called as osmoconformers. What is the meaning of osmoconformers? They can be able to match their osmolarity of the body towards the outside environment. Whereas these stenohaline organisms, they are osmoregulators. That means regulate osmolarity of the body at constant. They cannot be able to change according to the salinity. That's why they are restricted either to the fresh water or to the marine water. Whereas these organisms are mostly marine, whereas these organisms are marine or they may be freshwater. And some very important examples also I mentioned here. Here eels and herring fishes are the examples for euryhaline, whereas here goldfish, which is strictly restricted to freshwater, and haddock, which is strictly restricted to the salt water. Hope you understand euryhaline and stenohaline. Organisms which can be able to tolerate the fluctuations in salinity called as euryhaline. Organisms which cannot tolerate the fluctuations in salinity, they are called as stenohaline organisms. Whereas amount of water that is present in the soil, it can be measured by an instrument called as tensiometer. Whereas the water which is present in the soil, it is of various kinds. Students, by seeing this slide you can remember I already explained this topic in plant water relationship. Hope you remembered it. The complete water content that is present in the soil, the whole water content that is present in the soil, it is called as a holad. Whereas a thin layer of water which is present around the soil particle, that is called as hygroscopic water, which is not available to the plants because it is tightly attached to the soil particles. Because it is tightly attached to the soil particles, plant cannot be able to absorb this hygroscopic water. And gravitational water means earth consisting of certain gravitational force. So in form of rain, when water reaches the earth's surface, due to the gravitation, most of the water it will be entering into the deeper layers of the soil. That water which entered into the deeper layers of the soil, which is not available to the plant, that is called as gravitational water. And the next one is chemically combined water. Water, it reacts with some of the chemicals that are present in the soil and they becomes unavailable to the soil, and that is called as chemically combined water. And coming to the most important one, this is the very important one, that is capillary water. Capillary water means if you take soil, you can be able to see there will be fine gaps between the soil particles. That fine gaps that are present between soil particles called as capillary pores, and the water which gets accumulated in the capillary pores called as capillary water. That is the reason why this farmers will plow the soil. When they plow the soil, you can be able to see clearly, you can be able to observe the soil particles ka distance will be increased, so that more the distance, more the capillary pores, more the capillary pores, you can be able to notice more capillary water getting accumulated in that. Whereas the next topic is field capacity. Field capacity means all the water present in the soil except gravitational water. That means complete water that is present in the soil except gravitational water. It is called as field capacity. See, for your understanding, here I clearly wrote field capacity is equal to Hollad. Hope you remember Hollad. Just 5 minutes back only I told you Hollad means the complete water content that is present in the soil, it is called as a Hollad. Whereas gravitational water means due to the earth's gravitational force, some of the water it sinks into the deeper layers of the soil, which is not available to the plants, and that water it is called as gravitational water. That means the whole water that is present in the soil minus gravitational water, it is called as field capacity. Whereas the next one is water holding capacity, which is also called as storage capacity. Amount of capillary water present in the soil is called as water holding capacity. Whereas the last one, which is not much important one, just for your general understanding I'm telling you, permanent wilting percentage. The lower limit of water availability of a soil is called as wilting point, which is generally including hygroscopic and also chemically combined water. Thank you so much. If you have any doubts, you can WhatsApp me. Thank you so much.